أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن منهم لفريقا يلبون ألسنتهم بالكتاب لتحسبوه من الكتاب وما هو من الكتاب ويقولون هو من عند الله وما هو من عند الله ويقولون على الله الكذب وهم يعلمون. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Living with the glorious Qur'an. This is verse number 78 of Surah Al-Imran, reverting to the treachery of the Yahud. Yesterday we saw how false oath would lead to perdition and a place in hell. Now, another of the treachery of Yahud is that they distort the scripture. وَإِنَّ مِنْهُمْ لَفَرِيقًا يَلْوُونَ أَلْسِنَتَهُمْ بِالْكِتَابِ. There is among them a party that distort the scripture with their tongue. When they read the scripture, you would think that it is from Allah. They said it is from Allah while it is not from Allah. They speak a lie against Allah knowingly. That distortion of the scripture covers their interpolation into it, additions and subtractions. What is there is removed, like the announcement of the coming of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His description, his name, all were removed. What was not there was added. And at times people will come asking, questioning about what is wrong in religion and what is right. The answer given to them, because they have all the options. They have permission and they have sanction. So if the offering you are given to the religious people is enough, laws could be changed. You could be forgiven for whatever you would do. The interpretation of the scripture is subject to what you are able to offer to the people. That is why we have read in Al-Baqarah that فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ هَذَا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ لِيَشْتَرُوا بِهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا فَوَيْلٌ لَهُم مِّمَّا كَتَبَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَوَيْلٌ لَهُم مِّمَّا يَكْسِبُونَ. Then woe to those who write the book with their own hands and then say this is from Allah, to traffic with it for a miserable price. They collect money and they give what the giver of the money wants to hear. You have committed so an offense, don't worry. There is an interpretation of the verse that says this. This covers the Yahudi machinations about religion, and it's not confined to them, as we have seen yesterday. It covers even scholars in Islam. It depends what position he occupies. It depends what his closeness to those in authority is. It depends on what he wants to get from the knowledge that Allah has given him to twist the interpretation to favor a flawed position. And at times you would find this scholar abusing other scholars, refuting what they have said when they have proof, just for him to get something of the fleeting comfort of the life of the world. They write the scripture with their own hands and then say this is from Allah, to traffic with it for a miserable price. Because whatever you get of the world is really miserable. You would leave, depart, and it will remain here. You will not go into the grave with it. So the Yahud, as verse number 78 is saying, they distort the scripture with their tongues. When they read you would assume that it is part of the book when it is not part of it. They say it is from Allah, it is not from Allah. They speak a lie against Allah knowingly. They know exactly what they are doing by changing words from their contexts, removing, adding from the scripture as we have mentioned. Now Allah clarified further and said, ما كان لبشر أن يؤتيه الله الكتاب والحكم والنبوة ثم يقول للناس كونوا عبادا لي من دون الله ولكن كونوا ربانيين بما كنتم تعلمون الكتاب وبما كنتم تدرسون ولا يأمركم أن تتخذوا الملائكة والنبيين أربابا ولا يأمركم أن تتخذوا الملائكة والنبيين أربابا أيأمركم بالكفر بعد إذ أنتم مسلمون. That it is not possible for any human being unto whom Allah has given the scripture and the wisdom and the prophethood, that he should afterward have said unto people, be ye my slaves instead of Allah. But what he said was, be faithful servants of the Lord by virtue of your constant teaching of the scripture and of your constant study thereof. It is not possible for such a one as Allah has chosen with wisdom and prophethood to command people that they should take angels and prophets as lords instead of Allah. Would he command you to disbelieve when you have already professed your faith unto Allah? So such a one as chosen by Allah, a prophet, is not possible for him to afterwards digress. What is the difference between us ordinary mortals and prophets? And what is the difference between a prophet and a messenger? A prophet is chosen by Allah out of us, out of people. He would be one of us. Some of them are spoken to directly. Some have the angel Jibril, Archangel Gabriel, to come to them with Allah's message and their appointment as his prophet. Some of them are given their own scripture. Some of them are told to follow the earlier scripture of a brother prophet. When that information is given to them alone and they are directed by Allah to do certain things, they are prophets. They are prophets by Allah, by Allah's grace. When that information that they receive from Allah is told to be communicated to even their wife, then they have now graduated from prophets to messengers. So you can say that every prophet, every messenger is a prophet, but not every prophet is a messenger. A prophet receives message from Allah and it stops with him. A messenger who is also a prophet receives message from Allah and is directed to communicate same to another person, even if that person is the wife. So that is the difference between the three, us, prophets, and messengers. It is not possible for one whom Allah has so chosen to afterwards deviate after showing miracles and wonders, convincing people to be Allah's slaves, to worship their Lord. How can such a one now turn and say, you are to worship me instead of Allah? That is not possible. That is the meaning of the verse that we have read. Two of the verses, actually 70, 78, and 79. But what each prophet said, وَلَكِنْ كُونُوا رَبَّانِيِّينَ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تُعَلِّمُونَ الْكِتَابَ وَبِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَدْرُسُونَ. But what each messenger and prophet has said from Allah was that, be ye the slaves of the Lord, faithful in your service unto him by virtue of your constant teaching of the scripture and your constant study thereof. So it is not possible for such a one as chosen by Allah to change what Allah has given them. It is not possible that they would tell others to worship them instead of Allah. This has connection to the earlier verse that we have taken, verse number 78, of the distortion of the scripture. So to explain further, whatever distortions they would say, the prophets that brought that message from Allah conveyed it completely and faithfully. The distortion that would come afterwards is not possible for one whom Allah has sent to now change words from their context and impute falsely to Allah what He has not revealed. So messengers of Allah were faithful emissaries to His creatures. They conveyed what He has revealed unto them. They called on people to worship Allah, to be faithful in whatever they do. It was not possible for them to change the scripture and to bring in their own opinion in what Allah has revealed. It's not possible that they do that. What they conveyed to us was that we should remain faithful to Allah and to worship Him faithfully, seeking His countenance and seeking reward from Him. So inshallah, when we meet tomorrow, we shall take verse number 81, speaking about a covenant that Allah has taken still with the Yahudi community of receiving what He has given them, what they have found in the scripture, and what will come afterward and what is expected of them. Verse number 81, inshallah, tomorrow. Living with the glorious Quran will stop here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.